I think about a conversation that I was recently facilitating with a community financial brand. It was a group of about 19 people. And one of the things that came up towards the end was, and you could feel the tension, you could feel the conflict in the room. And it was around the idea of account holders who were calling in to check balances. And so my first question was, how old are these account holders? And they said it was a wide range of ages, about 25 to 30 year age gap. So probably from mid 50s upwards to their 80s. I said, okay, about how many? And they said maybe about 10%, 5 to 10% of the entire account holder base. And the argument is every single time that someone calls in to check their account balance, they're having to talk to a person who pulls up the account and gives them their balance. And they're like, well, that's costing us dollars. And I said, well, yes, it is. But what would happen if you were to remove that and force people to go into online or to mobile banking? And they said, well, we probably definitely have some conflict. And I said, well, have we talked to these people? Have we had a conversation? Have we just sat down and asked them why they call in, why they check their account balances this way, whenever there are opportunities to check online banking or mobile banking? Have we done that yet? And they said, no, we haven't. And I said, why don't we do that as a next step, just to gain a level of understanding into why people are doing what they're doing, why they have the behaviors that they have before we make any decisions. And then as a follow-up, if we find out because they don't have a desire to log into online banking or mobile banking for whatever reason, what if we used AI and automation so that they can still call in and get their account balance, but we don't have to pull someone off of a task of what they're doing? We're now using AI and automation. Would that reduce the cost, if you will, of this type of engagement or this type of experience? I said, absolutely. So I guess that's my follow-up to this is when we're looking at opportunities and connecting it back to the heart of growth around people, being very curious about why people do what they do. What are the opportunities that you see when it comes to utilizing new technologies like AI, like machine learning, to provide that tailored advice framed around a particular unique perspective, but, and this is the caveat, but with the availability to have human assistance or to have the human experience when that is needed? What's the opportunity and where might we be able to resolve some of this internal conflict that I'm seeing and hearing right now, digital versus humanity?
First of all, so many comments about the person calling for the balance. I've been there before, running a call center, and we had done so much to promote, digital adoption, mobile banking adoption. And what we actually found when we did ask a segment of those customers is that they were simultaneously looking at their app and calling us because they didn't believe that what they were seeing was as up to date as what they needed to know.
Wow.
And so there was a little bit of a distrust, or our codes that showed up as far as transactions that had processed were gibberish. It wasn't a clear merchant, and they didn't understand which transaction had actually processed. So it did help us learn that we needed to improve the way transactions showed up and the way we in the app let people know what was pending and what had processed and what that would do to their balance. But that's on that topic, which goes back a long time ago. I'm surprised to hear people are still dealing with that. But this concept of human and digital, and how do you use technology and data in order to optimize how we support our customers, is, I think, a really interesting one. And in a lot of ways, I think AI, machine learning, the use of digital, the use of data is actually to enhance how our people are enabled to be able to really provide fast but relevant and personalized information to customers, especially on the commercial and private banking side. To use those tools to give our associates kind of a leg up, a opportunity to kind of immediately see what that customer needs and be able to present suggestions that are in that customer's best interest. And then there's, how do we actually go beyond serving in digital channels and start providing maybe sales opportunities, maybe advice opportunities. One of the big concerns about people not coming to the branches anymore and going to digital is that the majority of sales have occurred in the branches. And a lot of people have invested in the service capabilities of their digital channels, but not the sales capabilities. And where I think people need to start focusing is, how are we using the data we have about customers to present ideas and solutions for those customers in their digital interactions with our organizations? So real-time offers that pop in their digital experience that aren't just a blanket CD sale, but are based on what you know about that customer and are frankly offers that are in their best interest, not our best interest. But doing that in a digital interface so that customers can take advantage of it. And I'm not just talking about consumer, I'm also talking about business owners and commercial clients, whether it's cash flow management or inventory management or payroll management, really using insight to help those businesses improve the way they're managing their business. And there's some really fun examples of embedded finance that organizations are doing, of embedding their AI, embedding their account opening capabilities into practice management software for companies, whether it's vets or salons or physicians. I'm trying to think of all the different practice software that they're embedding finance into, but it's putting banking and insight into the places where customers are already going.
I want to come back to this point you were mentioning before, and it was almost kind of like connecting how we opened up this conversation to your last comment around AI and freeing people up to do more human work, but also not just on the service side, but also on the sales and the growth side. This was the whole reason I wrote Banking on Digital Growth to begin with in the first place, to provide a blueprint and a path forward to think, digital can be a growth channel, not just a service channel. And that requires, from what I'm experiencing, a huge mindset shift within the organization. But the same is also true when we're talking about new technologies like AI, for example. I think of a recent workshop that I was facilitating where someone had shared, and they were in a high position within the organization, and they were pushing back on this idea of AI because I was talking about ChatGPT, because I think it's one that everyone can at least just relate to. And what I'm experiencing, this is almost like 1994 all over again with the internet. And the conversations have a very similar parallel, because in 94, 95, while I was only 13 years old, talking with people who were around in that time and now are in their 70s and 80s, and they're on the boards of financial brands, they remember almost laughing at the possibility that, we're gonna do business on the internet, and they almost kind of look back and like, well, I guess we were wrong. Well, I'm kind of seeing the same thing now happen with AI, and I was likening ChatGPT, and the perception that many people have about ChatGPT is being framed by, say, just traditional media, the mass media, that, it's what kids use to cheat in school, and so that's the perception of this. And I said, almost like, if we were to give kids ChatGPT or take ChatGPT away from kids in school today, it's almost like we're taking calculators away 10 years ago. And someone paused and said, I have to disagree with you on that statement. They said, I have employees who can't calculate a term rate for a loan without using a calculator. And I go, well, what's wrong with that? That's a tool that they don't have to think. And it was almost like there was this like internal conflict of, I've done it this way. I can do it without a tool. I can do this in my head. If you use a tool, if you use a calculator, or flash forward a couple of years, if you use AI, that makes you less valuable. What can we do to overcome some of those mindset limitations that I do see some leaders have, that they cling so tight to what they know as truth, but as Schopenhauer, who was a German philosopher, he said, when new truth is introduced, it is first ridiculed, then it is violently opposed, and then it's found to be self-evident. How can we navigate the conversation beyond where people just cling to what they know, to let go of what they know, to then create a new reality going forward?
Well, if I had the answer to that, I would be very, very wealthy, because change management and moving people forward is really what leadership is, and it's kind of the hardest part of life and business. But I would say exposure to it and having them use ChatGPT or whatever kind of AI they recommend to help solve some of their basic problems and see the power of it. And also the limitations, to be honest,
Sure.
to make sure that we're being careful. But I think there's nothing better than experience to have people be able to see the power of how this can help. There is a sense of, but that's cheating, or we got to do it the hard way. And actually, no, we have to embrace new ways of doing things. I'll tell you, we recently went on a vacation and my husband used ChatGPT to plan the entire vacation. And to, figure out how do we get from place to place? What are the best hotels that we should look at within our budget and the areas that we prefer? What restaurants should we go to? What museums? What, outings? And it was all about giving ChatGPT the right input to get the right output. Like, we didn't want to be in all the touristy areas. We wanted to be off the beaten path a little bit. So we had to give that information to ChatGPT to work for us. And what I'm hearing about some universities now is that they're not saying you can't use these tools. They're actually saying, let's teach you how to use these tools in a way that is not only safe, but super productive to get to the right answers. And I think that's really where we need to lean. Get used to using it, try it out on some low risk things, get used to it, get smarter on how you use it and how you apply it. And as bankers, we also owe it to our customers and communities to understand the risks and to protect ourselves against those risks. Because, AI can sometimes be good for 80-20 information. It may not be precise in certain areas. So we just need to understand kind of where is it something we can 100% lean on versus use it to point us in the right direction.